All right, where are these things? No, they're right there. All right. This is not gonna go well. Oh. Okay, that's whatever. No. What's going on, guys? Josh from SoccerReviewsForYou.com bringing you a video today to show you my entire collection of custom Nike ID soccer cleats and sneakers. For those that are unfamiliar with Nike ID, I'm not sure who those people are, but if you are one of those people, Nike ID is a service that Nike has on offer that allows you to customize the colors on a pair of soccer cleats or sneakers. Now, if you've never played around with Nike ID, the first link down below in the description will take you to the Nike ID section on their website, where you can take a look at all the different shoes that they have on offer to customize. You don't necessarily have to buy anything, you can just play around in the customizer. I do it all the time. However, if you do want to make an order, usually Nike ID charges you about a $40 premium to do a custom colorway, but if you can justify that extra cost, you end up with a one-off colorway when everything is said and done. And if you're a collector, kind of like myself, it definitely is something cool to have. Or if you just want something particularly unique, the Nike ID route is definitely a solid way to go. I've personally collected my fair share of Nike ID shoes over the years, some of which I have showed you on the channel, some of which I've never showed you before at all. So if you want to see what I have, that's what we're going to be covering in this video. If you guys do end up enjoying it and perhaps want to see more collection style videos, don't forget to support this one with a like. Number one is this right here, the Nike Hypervenom Phantom 2 that I customized in kind of a Jordan inspired colorway. When I went on Nike ID, basically when the Hypervenom Phantom 2 first came out, as soon as it became available, I knew I really wanted to make a pair. And if you guys have followed the channel for a long time, if I'm not mistaken, I think this is one of those Nike IDs where I actually made a couple different designs and then had you guys vote in the comments on which one I would order. Maybe that's something I can do again in the near future. However, when I did see that within the customization options that this was available in gray with the black pattern, which a lot of people didn't really like at first, it instantly kind of reminded me of the elephant print from the Jordan 3. So I knew that's kind of something that I wanted to theme my colorway off of. So I went with the white upper just because I thought that looked really clean and I didn't think Nike would actually release a white upper on this shoe. The collar, I believe, was black only. You couldn't actually change this area of the shoe, so you had to include some black on the shoe, which is why I went for the black swoosh with kind of an orange outline. And I remember red not being available. I could be wrong, so I went with this brighter orange, which I thought looked pretty cool. You have that on the back as well. I went with the SR4U customization, which is pretty straightforward. And then you have the gray and black there on the base of the sole plate as well. Really good looking shoe. And it turns out that after the fact, about a year later, Nike would actually end up doing a Neymar Jordan collaboration on the Hypervenom Phantom 2, two different colorways actually. So I don't want to say they copied my idea, but I did it first. Number two in the collection is the Nike MERCURIAL VELOCE 2 full safari print, which is one of my favorites in the collection. I really like how these turned out, and they are particularly unique in that I don't believe any of these Mercurials, whether it was the VELOCE 2 or the Vapor 10, which had the same sole plate, came out with a white sole plate base. So I think that looks really unique on this particular shoe. And they had this safari print available, I believe, only for a limited time. So I went with the white base and the black safari dots because my inspiration for this shoe was this guy right here, CR7, Cristiano Ronaldo's first ever signature colorway. So you can see this had the white base with the black safari dots, and that was kind of what I was playing off of or trying to recreate in the form of a much newer Mercurial model. Now you couldn't do the Vapor 10, you could only do the first takedown model, and the orange that they had as an option was kind of a much darker orange versus this kind of neon orange that you have right here. And if I remember correctly, you had to do some kind of an outline. So instead of doing an orange swoosh, which just didn't look right because you'd have to put some kind of an outline, I decided to go for a white swoosh with an orange outline just because I thought that looked the cleanest. You have that on both sides, the orange detail there, at the back, the orange detail there on the tongue. And then I went with customization SR4U, a Nike swoosh, and then the number 7. I would have done CR7, but they don't actually allow you to do that on Nike ID. Pretty much you can't customize the letters or the signatures or even the initials of Cristiano Ronaldo at all for whatever reason, but I really like how these turned out. I think they look really awesome. Next, I have a pair of indoors for you, the Nike Elastico Finale 3, which actually I think look really, really cool. Very unique because none of the general release colorways had this kind of two-tone effect like this, where I have the black right here on the side. It also has a black mesh base because this is a Nike skin upper. And you can see it kind of flows across the middle right here with this dividing line. And then you actually get to see the little cutouts on the medial side because it's white on top of a black base. So white through the medial side, white through the heel, and then white across the front as well. Black and white always accenting really nicely. And then I remember being really undecided as to whether or not to go with red or blue as an accent, because that would look really good with black and white in my opinion. I was also kind of debating Volt Yellow because I think that was an option, but I decided on the royal blue. I think it looks really cool. I have the Nike swoosh there on either side, the blue laces as well, which honestly I think black or white would probably look a little bit cleaner. I might swap those out. The black Nike logo right there on the front, the blue with the reflective strip down the back, the blue SR4U branding, and then you can see I went with the black midsole, and then this kind of black and white combination, kind of rubber mixture pattern here on the outsole, which I think looks really cool, and again, fits with the whole black and white theme. These I think turned out really, really clean. Next, we have another one of my personal favorites in my collection, a Nike Mercurial Vapor 9 in this kind of silvery gray color with glow-in-the-dark bits. So this is a shoe that a lot of people really like. I think out of the last couple modern Mercurial Vapors, this is a lot of people's personal favorite, just based on the look as well as the feel and performance characteristics. But this is a colorway that I went with because in the customizer, I couldn't really tell if this was a chrome or more of a gray, and it ended up being more of a gray, but it does have a little bit of a shiny finish to it, especially with that dimpled texturing. And then I remember it being mandatory that you had to have some kind of a fade effect, which is kind of what Nike was going with the Vapor 9 at that particular point in time. So I decided to go with the silver to white fade, just because I thought that looked really cool. And then the white part at the heel actually has more of a matte finish, so it does have that little bit of kind of texture change to it as well. Then you can see it has a white Nike swoosh, white laces, and then white Nike branding here on the medial side. All of that is actually glow in the dark, which is a really, really cool effect. I just like the way that looks. I thought that was pretty unique. And then I went with a white sole plate base, the plastic part, as you can see. And then it's got the silver glass fiber as well, which kind of matches nicely with the silver, even though that's a color that you can't really change. And then as far as customization is concerned, I went with SR4U for obvious reasons. And then I picked the number 8, which for those that don't know, the number 8, if I'm going to be picky about a number that I wear to play in, that is my preferred number, although I'm not really all that picky. But overall, I really think this is a cool Nike ID Vapor 9. Next, we have a pair of sneakers, also with a CR7 theme. These are the Nike Air Huaraches, which I kind of got these simply because of the safari print option. I really like how that looks on sneakers and soccer cleats. I just think it's really, really cool. So the Huaraches that I customize here, again, kind of play off that first ever CR7 signature colorway, because I was playing around with the customizer and I wanted to see what different color combos look the best. And obviously these are very busy. This is not one of those sneakers that you want to wear on a daily basis, but I have worn them a few times, and the Air Huarache in general is just a super comfortable shoe. So you can see that the mud guard here at the toe, as well as the strip through the middle, is all gray safari print. I really like the way that that looks. I went with a synthetic leather, it's not real leather here at the toe, in white. You could pick from a couple different materials right here, but I thought this leather grain finish looked the cleanest and the most premium. And then obviously through the middle, you have the bright orange going into the liner as well, all neoprene, and then black bits running through the middle as well. So there's a lot of different textures and a lot of different colors all incorporated into one. This piece right here, I went with a translucent black just because I thought that looks really cool. Better, I guess more premium than a solid plastic would look. And then you can see the midsole is black with the white paint splatter in certain parts, which maybe is a little bit too busy. I'm not sure that I would have put that in the second time around. And then a translucent black outsole. And then of course to tie it in, to the theme that I went with. You can see the customization on the back. For whatever reason, this one let me do the CR customization. It says CR on the one foot and then 000001 on the other. And the reason why I did that is CR stands for Cristiano Ronaldo, and then the number 1 with all the zeros in front is actually how they organize or list the signature colorways on Cristiano Ronaldo's signature Mercurials. Back then, they do chapters now, but at the time it was 00001 for the first one and then 00002 for the second one. So that's kind of what the tie-in is to that colorway to these Huaraches. So really, really cool. I should wear them more often. I just don't because they are a little bit weird looking. Next, we have a lot of people's personal favorite Nike over the last couple of years, the Hypervenom Phantom 1, which I have in a very unique colorway. So the theme for this particular shoe was more so just making them look as good as I possibly could. So I really like the look of the black through this middle part right here, accented with the white going around the edges. I thought that was a really clean design. And then it was just a matter of deciding the accent color. So because this has two very large Nike swooshes that are pretty prominent in terms of how the design and colorway of the shoe ends up looking, I decided to go with red at the front just because I thought that accented really nicely with the black. It kind of popped, but at the same time wasn't too much. And then in the customizer, they had gray as an option. I don't remember 100% what the specific color would have been, but I decided to go with that gray at the heel for the Nike swoosh and then gray in the laces as well, which also changed the color of the Nike Skin branding right there. But it turns out that this gray ended up having almost a little bit of a brownish gold tinge to it, which still looks fine. I just wish it would have been a little bit more of a kind of classic gray, if you will. But still, really cool customization on that. It's got the SR4U in red right there on the medial side of the heel. And then you can see the sole plate is pretty much just black in color, which I think makes sense for this shoe. And I believe it was the only option anyways. So overall, really happy with how these turned out. Next, we have what is probably the best one that I've made in terms of how the final product ended up turning out and looking. It is the Brazilian Ronaldinho themed Nike Tiempo Legend 6s that I made. I really like how these look. And the reason why it is Brazilian theme is obviously because of the colors. And then because it ended up being a Brazil theme, I decided to make it a Ronaldinho theme as well, just because he was one of my personal favorite players growing up. So you can see I incorporated the Brazilian flag as well as the number 10 there in the royal blue to match the Nike swoosh. And then on the bottom of the shoes as well, you can see it right here. One shoe has the number 10, the other one actually says SR4U, because you could actually choose that instead of just having the regular branding there at the bottom. Anyways, I think these turned out really good. I remember when I was gonna make a Nike ID Legend 6, the thing that jumped out at me within the options that were available was this Tour Yellow color, because I figured that it was probably never going to be something that Nike would actually release in a general release colorway, and it turns out I was right. They gave us Volt Yellow, but they never gave us this kind of classic regular yellow, which I think looks really cool. So I went with solid yellow across the entire upper. I thought that looked really clean. Yellow laces as well. And then obviously with Brazil, you want to incorporate the blue as well as the green, but the green that was an option wasn't this kind of darker green that you would want. It was like a lime neon green, which I think just didn't look good. So I decided to go with a blue Nike swoosh, which the blue looks really nice, and then just with a white outline for the swoosh and then white Tiempo branding there at the back, which actually looks really nice. You got a subtle blue Nike swoosh or Nike branding right there. And then the sole plate, I went with solid yellow as well. So it's mostly all yellow, but the final product, in my opinion, ended up looking really, really good. Next, I have another pair of sneakers for you, specifically a pair of basketball shoes. These are Nike LeBron Soldier 10s. This is a Nike ID exclusive that came out after LeBron won the championship in Cleveland. I had watched the entire NBA playoffs that year. It was probably the most into an NBA season I ever was, and it was a pretty crazy feat for Cleveland to actually win in the finals there against Golden State. And these are the sneakers that LeBron wore in the finals. The Nike released on Nike ID in limited quantities basically the next day or the next 2 days after, if I remember correctly, but they sold out pretty quickly, so I decided to get a pair. Now, unlike most Nike ID shoes where you can actually pick all the colors, there was really only one thing to customize here, and that was the ID part on the bottom strap, which I just decided to go with 23 embroidered in gold, match the theme of the shoe. And again, I got them because it was kind of a memory of what I had watched that entire summer. And I've only worn these a couple of times. It was a limited edition release. I really wanted to get a pair of Soldiers at the time. I haven't worn these as much just because they're actually way more difficult to put on than I actually thought. It's a cool looking sneaker. They're fairly comfortable. I think the strap design is interesting, although I don't love it in terms of how it feels. But the sneaker's really cool, and I'm glad that I ended up getting a pair. Next, I have a pair of Magista OBRA 1s in a 2014 World Cup theme, which was held in Brazil. Now, I have to say that looking back, this is probably one of my least favorite Nike IDs, both in terms of the colorway itself, as well as just the overall quality of the Nike ID. You can see the actual customization here is really, that was good. The customization is kind of like a pale white. It's not very vibrant. You can see even the Brazilian flag is not particularly vibrant either. And you guys saw similar customization on those Legend 6s I just showed you. The sole plate is kind of oxidizing. That is just going to happen with plastic over time. And you can see that you couldn't actually change the option of the pink here at the bottom. It was basically the same as the launch colorway, aside from them not being neon yellow. Also, you couldn't change this part, the Volt yellow collar and middle section, which I think really limited you for how many different colorways you could create that actually looked decent. So that's kind of why I ended up going with the Brazilian theme. The World Cup was coming up. This came out just before the World Cup started, and it was being held in Brazil. So I figured that because you had the yellow as an option that had to stay, going with the blue for the upper actually looked quite good. It's not exactly the right yellow for Brazil. It's kind of more of a modern interpretation of that, but I think it ended up turning out okay. Nonetheless, you have the black laces here. I went with a Volt yellow base for the Nike swoosh with this kind of teal green color on top with that extra pattern, black outline. Then you have that green color here, solid on the inside Nike swoosh. And that's pretty much all you could customize. There wasn't a lot of options with this particular shoe. And the fact that it was a solid Nike skin covering as opposed to translucent, which I think the translucent ones look the best because it kind of shows off the Flyknit a little bit. And you couldn't change this color. Again, you were just limited to options. So they turned out okay, but I can't say they're my favorite out of all the shoes in my collection. And finally, my personal favorite out of all the Nike IDs I've ever done, the Nike Mercurial Superfly 4 in this blue safari print pattern. Again, the safari print, I do it pretty much every time it becomes available. And when it became available on the Superfly 4, especially in this blue color, which I think just looks really cool, I decided to make a pair, and I think the end result turned out really good. So it's got the blue base with the black safari print, and then it's got a white Nike swoosh with a black outline on either side, which really makes it pop against that blue background. I went with white laces and then the black through the collar and midsection of the foot. That was something that you could not change at all. So I think that worked out okay, given that the safari print would always be black anyways. As far as customization is concerned, again, it's kind of really subtle, like those Magista OBRAs. I really wish it would have been more of a solid white, but you can see it's an S, a Nike swoosh, and then PRFLY, because I wanted to spell out Superfly, and I guess I used the Nike swoosh as a substitution for the U. I didn't want to put SR4U if I didn't have to, so I didn't. And then obviously it just has the solid carbon fiber sole plate, which is obviously something you couldn't change the color of at all. The funny story about this particular Nike ID is obviously there is a video of these, an older video from when I first got them, up on my channel, and a couple weeks later a lot of people started sending me links to certain counterfeit websites that actually reproduced this exact colorway, and they were selling them as fake. So I guess it was so good that the fake websites decided to recreate it, sell it as a fake Superfly 4. So I mean, I don't know what that means. I just always thought that was kind of a funny thing, because as far as I know, that's the only Nike ID that I've ever made that was actually copied by the counterfeiters. So again, my personal favorite, just because I love the way that they turned out. Anyways, guys, that is my entire Nike ID collection. I'd be curious to know which of them is your favorite down below in the comments. And as always, if you have any questions for me, leave that down below as well. I'll do my best to get an answer out to you. If you guys enjoyed the video, don't forget to support it with a like. And also, if you guys would like to see more collection videos, because obviously I have a pretty big collection of a bunch of different shoes, leave your suggestions down below in the comments, because that's definitely something that I can make for you guys. I really enjoyed this particular video, so hopefully you guys will want to see more. Other than that, subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all my social media information linked in the description as well. Other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, thanks for watching.